All right, so now we're in Premiere Pro. This is how I edited the entire film. I did it in several sequences. You'll see here I have rough cut. I did a time edit, and then I did the color grading, did my audio changes, added in the music, and then visual effects. And then I did a final edit after it was all done to add the title and the end credits. The way I organized everything was I created scene folders and put all of my audio and video in those scene folders. You'll see I had initially filmed 13 scenes, 14th scene being the one that didn't make it in, that I didn't film. Created folders for the sound effects, visual effects, and then the voice actor files. I want to talk a little bit about camera angles. I tried to convey some feelings based on how the camera was set in relation to Frankie, the main character. So the first half of the film, you notice the camera angle is below eye level because Frankie's in control. And then as we move along to the introduction of Winston, it becomes more eye level. And then once Winston has moved in and taken control, then we kind of look down on Frankie a little bit. Talked about having to cut some stuff. This is just kind of an entry into the kitchen. So this was cut. It wasn't really needed. Another scene that was cut from the film. This was Frankie going to bed and talking to Alexa to try to get her to turn the lights off and play some rain sounds for the night. A scene that was also cut, just picking up the package at the front door. So for the rough cut, we'll talk a little bit about lighting. So for this scene, I used the 3 hue bulbs. I set them up on my dresser and just pointed them at the bed to give me that kind of nighttime bluish look. What it actually ends up looking like, I think, more is a TV screen was left on. But, it was I think it works, especially after the color grading. I think it was a little better. The lighting for the kitchen scene, I used entirely the practicals. These are just the lights that are in the kitchen. It gave a nice harsh overhead, created lots of shadow, which I think helped convey the emotion of the frustration level. It's a little uncomfortable to look at. And then let's talk about lighting a little bit more once we get here. So this was obviously a mixture of practicals. I used one of the soft boxes, and then I also had the hue lights along the floor to try to raise everything up so that I could get a good exposure. Still came out yellow, but I think that's kind of the way it should look with the lights in the room. And if I jump to the ending here, you'll see the lighting. This was not done with the hue lights. This was actually done with the softbox, and then I just color graded it down. Setting the hue lights on the dresser was just not going to cast enough light to where it would light the face. So I had to come up with a different. The digital brain stuff, I did not create these. These all came from Envato Elements, and I will put a link to the Envato Elements down in the description. Came in real handy. That's also where I got the music and the sound effects. So that was initially almost a 4-minute cut before I actually had even entered in the last scene or filmed the last scene. So with the time edit, I cut it down, and this is the time edit that you would see in the film. This was just me getting it down to where it needed to be. So for color grading, I did most of this, I white balanced everything. Let's see if I turn off these adjustment layers. You can see it brightens it up some. Coloring's not as harsh in the kitchen. White balanced for the lights, the practicals that are in this room. And here, this was done with an adjustment layer. So let's talk about adjustment layers. So I wanted to convey some emotion through color. So for the first half of the film, there's a red tint over it. So it's angry. So that's what I was going for with that. This is still angry. And so then here, I actually injected a blue. So I was just going for an opposite color from the red, something to represent Winston having control and being in charge. So that gave the blue tint to the whole thing. And then here at the end, it actually came out more black and white. If I turn off the blue hue, it's still, there's really not any difference with this because of the way it was color graded. Hindsight, I should have not taken it so black and white, but I think it worked out with the red eyes that pop in later. So audio, so the music, once I said I got those from Envato Elements, and I played it through the entire length of the film, just adjusting volume as it went along, because obviously, as you can see from the waveform here, it raises up quite a bit. So I just adjusted that volume as we went. And then sound effects, dropped those in at the bottom. And then these are, I had to film. So during this part, I only had the mic that was on the camera. So that's actually what was used for this entire thing for the audio, was the mic from the camera. I do have a Tascam DRX05, which actually was used during this scene. It's sitting on a shelf down here in the corner of the nightstand. And so that's where that audio comes from. But here it wouldn't pick up. There is an Alexa in the kitchen area, but it wasn't picked up by the mic. So I had to go back and record some Alexa audio. And so that's what's dropped in here. And then the voice actor audio is dropped in as well. For this scene, there is no other audio, so I've got it sitting up on track 1 instead of down on track 2. I probably should have been on track 2 just to make it more cohesive. Visual effects, this was entirely done in Premiere. I didn't do anything in After Effects. Final Edit was just a few transitions and the credits. So that's the run through in Premiere. And if there's any of these details that I went very high level, just kind of wanted to go through it. Since I didn't have any behind the scenes photos and stuff, there wasn't anything real to show you as comparison with like light setups and things like that. But for the next film, I will make sure I do that. So if you have any questions, just let me know down in the comments and I can always jump back in and answer them.